Hey Reddit, when did your something's not right here gut feeling ever save you? I was going to meet up with someone from Marketplace to buy a phone and the feeling hit me, so I called the woman and a man answered trying to play off the fact he's a man, and I passed by where we were meeting at and it was dark and I heard voices in the background on the phone call. I never stopped the car and kept going. Pretty sure I saved myself from at the very least a mugging, but learned a good lesson. Always meet in a public place. My mom dropped my 3-year-old brother off at daycare before she had to work in the morning. When she got to work she had this terrible feeling something was wrong with him. She ended up leaving work and drove to the daycare. She found the daycare lady inside sleeping, while the daycare kids, including my brother, were running around the pool. My brother never went back to that daycare again. I smelled burning plastic early in the morning at my family cottage and almost went back to sleep. I was around 15, but got up to investigate. A socket on the outside of the building had caught fire and flames were shooting up the wall. The rest of my family was still sleeping, and there wasn't enough smoke for the alarms to go off. I ran and got the fire extinguisher, got my dad up, and put it in his hands, and pointed him towards the fire, stopped it and called the fire department. I had a gut feeling I should pull my wallet and phone out of my purse. Not even 20 seconds later, I get mugged. The man dragged me across the sidewalk and stole my purse, but all he ended up getting was a juice box and my birth control. Not my gut feeling, but my sister once came back home when she'd already left to go to school 10 minutes earlier because she suspected something was wrong, prevented me from attempting suicide. I had an important meeting in another city. I fly a lot, but I had a nagging feeling about the 3-hour flight I needed to take to get to the meeting. 2 nights in a row before the flight I dreamt that the right engine would flame out, causing the plane to crash. In the morning I dawdled enough that I missed flight CP414. The plane made it just fine, and I got fired. Got a better job 2 weeks later, so my gut feeling saved me. I was walking to the barber shop, and for some reason, everything just felt off. I ignored the feeling, but every step I took just made me feel like something wasn't right, so I decided to just go grab some food and come back. While I was eating I saw police cars and ambulances driving to around where I was before. It turns out there was a murder. Now I always listen to my gut feeling. My mother's moment technically. She called me late one night apropos of nothing, after we hadn't spoken in about a month. We chatted for a few minutes before I told her I'd just taken a fuckload of pills with the intent to kill myself just before she called. She phoned an ambulance and, you know, I'm still here. Guy was trying to hit on me at a bar, and while I was a bit drunk I was still able to think straight. I talked to him because he was kinda cute. After a while he tries to convince me to go home with him, but my gut told me not to. Later on the news it said some guy was kidnapping and raping girls before killing them. Description matched the guy exactly. Never before had I felt so relieved in my life. Not me but my cousin. She was driving at night and suddenly had a gut feeling. Since no one else was in the area, she stopped her car. Few feet ahead a second later, a deer jumped across the road suddenly. She would hit it. I used to never wear my seatbelt. This was before they were annoying as fuck if you didn't put it on. One time I was sitting in the passenger seat of a car and had a gut feeling to put it on. Not even a minute later we were hit by someone doing about 60 miles per hour. Cop said if I didn't have on my seatbelt I would have went through the windshield. I always wear my seatbelt now. Had a man follow me when I was in Istanbul. I noticed he was watching me and I went back and circled the block. He still attempted to assault me, but I was prepared and was able to get into an elevator quickly. It's very important to watch while you are walking, especially in a foreign country. I was offered a dream job at almost double my salary in a different city. It was only 2 hours away, but something told me not to take the job. I had a number of people tell me I would never have another opportunity like this, and my fear of leaving my hometown was holding me back. 2 months after I turned it down, that division of the company was sold, and everyone in that department lost their job. I'd have been stuck in a new city with no friends or family nearby, and no job prospects. Mom was a realtor. Met up one day with a home inspector about a house. Both of us had this gut feeling that something seemed off about the guy. I would usually hang out inside/around the homes while my mom did her stuff. This time she had me stay in the car, doors unlocked, and her cell phone on. Found out a few weeks later that the home inspector was BTK. I walked into a house party and got a really bad gut feeling. Most of my friends and I left. The people who didn't leave got mugged. It was pretty scary. Well, when I was 13, a group of late teen early adult guys in a car pulled up next to me and asked me for directions. I kept my distance, but answered their questions. They asked me to come closer. A couple shouted that I should get in. I said no and walked away quickly into a bank. They drove off. I mean, maybe they were nice guys, but I always felt like I avoided getting gang raped that day. When I was 7, my music teacher whipped out his penis at me and asked me touch it/taste it. At that age I didn't know the first thing about genitals, so I didn't know what was going on, but something felt so wrong about it, I firmly refused. And he left it that, trying to cover it up by being sweet to me. The memory resurfaced around 4 years ago, and I finally realized what almost happened to me. There was a new guy at work. Seemed nice enough, but I couldn't shake the bad feeling I had about him. He got arrested a couple weeks ago for violating his probation. It turns out he likes little boys. He was trying to get close to the minor that also works there. Luckily nothing happened. Didn't really save me, because I'm 23 and female, but I knew something was up, and was relieved when he was arrested. My mother asked me if I wanted to somewhere with her, but I declined, as it didn't feel right. She ended up getting into an accident after someone ran the red light. Had anyone else been in the car, they would have been hurt pretty good, but my mother was small enough to avoid getting hurt. My mother is 4 feet 11, and I'm 5 feet 2. I was speeding down a very rural highway when something told me to slow down. I dropped my sleep about 20 miles per hour, and in the distance I see 2 deer jump like fleas onto the highway and then slowly run across. Probably would have hit at least one. Was going to go to a house party a few years ago, but I decided not to go at the last minute. Turns out not going was a good idea. The party was broken up by the police because a huge brawl broke out and someone pulled a gun and started waving it around. Luckily no one was shot. I was walking out of a grocery store when I saw this kid about to cross the road. Something came over me and I yanked him back onto the sidewalk. Not even a second later a truck came flying past. He was probably around 7 or 8ish. A car in front of me was stopped at a 4-way stop and hesitated for a bit longer than necessary when their turn to go came around. They suddenly shifted into reverse and floored on the accelerator. I was watching their brake lights and got out of the way just in time. I'm assuming they were trying to run an insurance scam or something. I was waiting for it at a traffic light crossing for the signal to say it's safe to go. When it did switch to green, I had a feeling not to move, so I didn't. After about 6 seconds of staring at the green pedestrian crossing light, wondering to myself why I wasn't moving, a car and the light. I don't know if my gut feeling has ever necessarily been right or if I'm just so constantly in a state of anxiety that even a broken clock is right twice a day. Just now, if I'd trusted that fart I would have splattered the couch. I was at a party when I was about 5 and I saw my little brother go into a new pool. My gut told me to follow him and he thought the cover was a step. He fell in the pool. I grabbed his arm and called for help and he still lives to this day. I was in a Walmart parking lot late at night walking back to my car once when a man popped out suddenly from beside a van. He kinda yelled/excitedly asked, "Do you want to buy some tamales?" And I've never gotten such an instant gut reaction in my life that he was about to do something really sinister, and it went way beyond the fact that he wasn't holding any damn tamales. I got out a quick no and basically ran to my car. I'm not sure if it saved me from anything, but it felt like it. I was building a fort in the woods near my house as a kid. Got this eerie feeling that something was wrong, so I packed my stuff and made my way home. Next day, on my way to school on the bus, my friend mentioned a cougar his family saw running across the road that was within a couple hundred feet of where I was. It just so happened to be at the same time I was out there. What I got from this? If something feels off, it probably is.